about 15, probably going on 16 years ago. I'm trying to think what year it was. It was around 2008. There was a real estate transaction that occurred between my father and my then husband and his brother. I was not involved in the deal in any way. I remember the day they signed paperwork. I was just chilling outside my house, my parents' house, and not thinking anything of it because I wasn't in real estate at the time. So, on the decision makings, on the negotiations, and the outcome, it was my sister who drew up the contract, and my ex-husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, and his brother were both realtors, as well as my sister, and this situation ended up wrong somehow. The blame and the shame were somehow squarely placed on me throughout the years because my ex-husband and his family couldn't reach my sister. How dare they come after her? Or how dare they come after my dad? Yeah, they were constantly bickering amongst each other and making it clear that they hated my sister and they hated my dad. Even after the whole real estate transaction was figured out and the house was paid off by my dad, and regardless, it still wasn't good enough. As time passed, what I realized that my soon-to-be ex-husband, he was behind much of the bad-mouthing of me. Instead of defending me, he allowed his sick, toxic family, especially my mother-in-law, especially my sister-in-law, to turn against me. They always made reasons to not like me in the first place, but this was their main reason, and somehow every conversation that they had, it all came up about Hadwin. Hadwin was the property. And somehow even his sister joined in, and she had nothing to do with the transaction either, so using these isolating tactics and treating me as though I were the problem, I would complain to my mom. I would complain to her because she would be the one that I would vent to, and she would listen to me with an open mind and open heart, and here she in turn was blaming my dad for the real estate transaction. And I was thinking, this is really going to break up my marriage even after the deal closed and many years passed. I'm like, why are they still bringing up? Why are they still bickering about it and talking shit about my dad? And at one point, my soon-to-be ex-husband was telling me that he felt like I never defended him or his brother, and I should have disowned my own father over it. Like, are you fucking sick? That's weird. How deep can that type of betrayal cut? Because that's the sick mind. Those are the sick thoughts that was feeding him and fueling him. And that nasty family was just feeding off of each other. In the back of my mind, I was thinking a husband is supposed to protect and stand by his wife. And in light of the situation, the real estate transaction, that's how he thought of me, that I should have stood by him, when in fact I had nothing to do with the transaction. Like, I kept repeating myself to him and to his family. They didn't care. They knew that they could blame me and use me as a scapegoat. Just thinking about it now, he sacrificed me to preserve his image, to appease his family, to act like, he was on their side, even going against me. And that moment, way back in 2017, when I remember clearly his sister being all riled up and screaming on the phone, telling him that he needed to do something, and that was hard. I had my little babies right there when they were hearing their aunt screaming on the phone. And in that moment, it marked the beginning of a long pattern of scapegoating that I carried for years without really realizing it. I'm learning a lot about how strategic they were in planning to use me as a scapegoat and attack me, and ultimately my soon-to-be ex was, the puppet, and his sister and his mom were the puppet masters, as they always have been. Not only did they come at me with verbal attacks, my husband often used financial threats and crazy accusations of screaming at me, and for a time there we were also paying his brother monthly payment, even though we were barely making it by. We just barely moved to Florida, and that was in the height of everything. We were making like $500 payments. I can't remember if it was per month or every 2 weeks to his brother to help pay for the court costs that they accrued to take my father to court. And that was a hard time. I'll never forget it. But my ex-husband did get triggered by his family, and in turn he terrorized me. He did show me how little he valued our relationship even back then, and again, I was so terrorized. I just thought, I need to save my babies from his sadistic ways, because he was violent towards me when I was pregnant. And when we moved, I'm not ready to talk about that part, but when we moved to Florida, we weren't even there, living there. After a year, he destroyed the whole house, just in a rage, just tearing everything down and yelling and screaming. And I didn't tell anybody about that time, because I didn't want anybody to worry. I didn't want anybody to tell me to come back to Utah, so I kept it to myself. I went to a Catholic church and really contemplating on going in, begging for a priest to listen to me, with my 2 little babies in the back seat of my car. I was just thinking, what do I need to do to get out of this situation? But I realized logically I couldn't leave, because they would be in harm's way, sharing them 50-50 custody. And so I lived with this tormentor of mine, my abuser, and I don't trust the court, because he's just not going to take my word for it. I just don't hear very good things about the court process, and courts don't care. These women are a dime a dozen, and these poor kids, they don't matter. The courts need to start holding these crazy, narcissistic, psychopath men accountable for the abuse that they cause their spouses and children. Just, I don't know. I could understand legal action should have been taken a long time ago, and I need proof. It's just hard when you're abused. And he did threaten me to remove pictures, and I remember deleting pictures of bruises and stuff like that. This was years ago, and I never should have deleted them. Yeah. These narcissistic men will abuse you and any empathy that you give to them. I don't know, it's just, a tough experience to go through. It's intentional. They know exactly what they're doing when they're abusing you and mocking you and using you as a scapegoat, and they have their support system, their family, that is just as sick and demented as they are, to play in this narrative. And looking back on everything that happened in recent months, it's making a lot more sense why he suddenly discarded me after I've been married for so long, 2 decades. It wasn't seemingly out of nowhere. It wasn't. It's what he's been feeling for probably the amount of time we got back together. Maybe 17 years he's been feeling this way. Since Julian was a little baby, he's been through a lot. And so this narcissist that was once my husband, it was so easy for him to erase me as if I didn't mean anything to him. And it was just as easy and bizarre to go through that experience with this real estate deal go wrong, because his family jumped in and he created the storyline that I was the one to blame. And although I was in a severely abusive, I don't even want to call it a relationship, it was an illusion on my part. It just changes everything, because this guy is a stranger to me. He's not the illusion I build up in my head, and need to keep pushing forward. It's just a very traumatic experience to go through, and I do not wish it on my worst enemy, my worst hater. It's pure torture.